From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the Hourly News Blast. Lancaster Online is reporting Governor Gov Shapiro has directed state resources to provide crisis care for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer residents after the federal government cut back some services. The National 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, which is accessible by phone call or text, previously offered a press 3 option to connect LGBTQ plus people under 25 with trained counselors. President Donald Trump's administration ended that service in July after it used the $33 million Congress had allocated for the fiscal year, according to a statement from the Federal Department of Health and Human Services. The 3-digit hotline was launched in 2022. When the Press 3 option ran over budget previously, then President Joe Biden's administration allocated more money. From September 2022 through July 17, 2025, nearly 1.6 million callers used the Press 3 option, according to the agency that oversees the hotline. That is 11% of total callers. Veterans, another group recognized by the federal government as being at increased risk of suicide, also have a sub-hotline option. That continues to receive funding. Over 2.4 million calls went to that Press 1 option for veterans or their family members, or 17% of total callers. The 988 hotline has also fielded over 3 million texts and 2.6 million chats, but the government's data portal does not show how many came from veterans or LGBTQ plus people. Funding for all aspects of the national hotline is allocated by Congress. To fill the gap left by the Trump administration, Shapiro directed Pennsylvania's Department of Human Services to train 988 operators in the state to serve LGBTQ plus callers, according to a department spokesperson. All calls to 988 from within Pennsylvania go to one of the 14 call centers in the state with those trained counselors. Those centers are operated by Vibrant Emotional Health, a nonprofit that is contracted with the federal government to run mental health crisis call centers since the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline was originally launched in 2005. Originally a 1-800 number, Congress passed a bill in 2020 to change to 988 to make it easier for people in crisis to reach out. The 988 hotline offers 24/7 confidential support by call, text, or online chat. The 988 Lifeline will continue to be a direct connection to immediate support for all Americans, regardless of their circumstance, according to a statement from the Federal Department of Health and Human Services. It is a resource for anyone in crisis. That has not changed. The federal agency did change the terms it uses for the hotline services, now referring to LGBT+. In statements from previous years, it used LGBT+ or LGBTQI+, standing for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex. An executive order from Trump earlier this year sought to define gender as solely male and female, saying the federal government will only acknowledge the two. Consequences of the change include the State Department no longer offering the gender-neutral X option on passports, and pressure on states, schools, and athletic associations to ban transgender athletes from participating in sports. Operators in Pennsylvania are also trained to connect LGBTQ plus people with the Trevor Project, a group that runs its own crisis hotline for gay, trans, and queer youth. The Trevor Project's website states it was one of 7 service providers with a federal contract to answer calls from LGBTQ plus youth, taking about half of the total. The Federal Department of Health and Human Services did not answer questions about how services now differed across state lines, why it changed terminology, or why additional funds were not allocated in the past. James Black, the Trevor Project CEO, said in a press release that the federal government is playing politics with young people's lives. The program was created with overwhelming bipartisan support because, despite our political differences, we should all agree that every young person's life is worth saving, Black said. Though the automated call-in option is no longer available, crisis center operators in Pennsylvania are trained to connect callers to the Trevor Project if requested. In those cases, the 988 operator stays on the line until the caller is on the line with a Trevor Project counselor. Despite having to lay off crisis counselors and staff members, the Trevor Project's free and confidential crisis services will continue to be available 24/7 for any LGBTQ plus young person who needs support, according to the site. LGBTQ youth can also contact the Trevor Project directly by going to thetrevorproject.org/get-help. We'll make sure that's out on our website. All you'll have to do is press one button on paequality.com and it will take you to the Trevor Project. You can also reach out by phone. That's 1-866-488-7386. Once again, 866-488-7386. That number is already on the homepage of the Pennsylvania Equality Project website. You can also text the word START, S-T-A-R-T, START, to 678-678. That's the News Blast for this hour. If you are watching our news videos on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.